Howdy folks, I come to you today bearing news about various false cuts and shuffles. The idea of a false cut is that you cut the deck but leave it in the same order as before, or leave a certain portion of the deck, say the top half of the deck, in a certain order. That's a false cut, and a false shuffle is sort of the same thing, except you're doing it with a shuffle instead of a cut. You're leaving a certain portion of cards or the entire deck in the original order that they started in. So a very simple example of a false shuffle would be the top retention shuffle. So example, if I have the 8 of hearts on top of the deck and I want to keep it on top, I can go through as many shuffles as I want, and I'll just keep it short for now, and the 8 of hearts is still on top of the deck. And that's simple enough. I mean, if you look at where the 8 of hearts is, all you have to do is make sure that it falls on top last, and as long as it falls on top last, you're good to go. That's an easy example of a false shuffle. A second one would be the bottom retention. If you want to keep the ace of clubs on the bottom, you just make sure you let it go before you do any of the other cards. Let's say you had the 4 aces on the bottom. Obviously I don't, but assume we do. If you had the 4 aces on the bottom and you wanted to keep them there, you just have to make sure you riffle off 4 cards to begin with, at least, and then shuffle off the rest of the cards, and then you're still going to have your same 4 aces on the bottom of the deck. Same thing goes for the top. If you want to retain, say, the top 10 cards, as long as you let the top 10 cards fall on top, just like that, they'll be in the same places where they started. Those are partial false shuffles. A entire deck false shuffle is quite a different story, and to be perfectly honest, I've never even learned to do many of these things because I've never had the use for them. But false shuffles, if you have tricks that use them, they can be extremely useful. A good example of a false shuffle would be the pull-through shuffle. And the pull-through shuffle, you actually shuffle the cards like this, and then cut them a couple of times, and the entire deck stays in exactly the same order. I don't think I'm really qualified to be teaching that one, considering I can't even do it, but I will just go briefly through how it's done. First of all, you cut the deck in half, just like this. You shuffle onto the table doing a dovetail shuffle, or whatever it's called. I believe it's a dovetail. And now I can't even shuffle the cards. And as you push them together, this is what's going to happen here. This is hard to get the angle. You're going to, with these fingers, you're going to angle the pack of cards diagonally. Now this is greatly exaggerated from what you would actually do, but for the purposes of the camera, I'll exaggerate it. And then you continue to square up the cards with this pack still diagonal. And you'll notice that once you get to a certain point, you can straighten out the cards, but this stack that was originally on this side of the deck will actually go all the way through the deck. And if you look, you can see where it's coming out on the other side. So as long as you cover those two edges on either side, it looks like the deck is squared. And then, using your thumb and middle finger, you strip all of those cards back out of the deck again. So here they come, all of them out of the deck. So I'm not actually cutting it. I'm actually taking all the cards out that I just shuffled in. And then you cut the deck, and it's still in the same order because you just reversed the shuffle. And then at that point you can do a false table shuffle. I should try and angle the camera a bit. Bear with me. There we go. That's a little better. A false table cut, which would be you take off the bottom third, I believe. Yeah. And then you just, when you go to put it on top, you just jog it slightly to the side like this. So you still have area to grab here. Then you take off the next bottom third, again put it on top, and then you take off the last bottom third and put it on top. So all you did was move the bottom third of the deck to the top 3 times, giving you the same order of cards. Now that's a very simple table shuffle, and you'll probably won't get away with that very often because people will catch you, but simple enough. Now one that I actually got a question about was a double undercut. The double undercut looks like this. We have the jack of clubs on top. We cut it into the middle, and then using a double undercut, 1, 2, we get the jack of clubs back on top. How to do the double undercut? It's a little tricky. You want to make sure you have more than half the cards. I would say about 2/3 of the cards below a break. Okay, so like this. So your card is here, 2 of diamonds. Now you're going to hold the cards in biddle grip, changing your pinky break to a thumb break at the back. And that's that's easy enough to do. Just you have a break here that extends most of the way across the cards, and then when you come back with your thumb, you just wedge a little bit of your thumb flesh in there, so that when you take your pinky away, the deck stays open, based on or because of your thumb. Okay, so you're changing it to a thumb break. Then once you've changed the grip, you want to take your thumb and riffle down about half of the cards you have here, or about a third of the deck, into your other hand, let them drop, and then take these cards and slip them on top of the deck. So now you have a break above a third of the deck, and then 2/3 on top of that, and then you just drop all the cards below the break, this one being yours, and cut them to the top. So from the side, an exposed view, it would look like this. Here's your card, the King of Spades. I've got my break. You go 1, 2. King of Spades. So a way that could work in practice is if you have someone select a card, whoops, sorry about that. Say they select the 8 of clubs, you lose it in the middle, give the deck a couple of cuts, just to lose it, and suddenly the 8 of clubs is on top. And again, I'll walk through how I did that. Queen of Hearts, as you square the deck, you keep a break with your pinky, you change the pinky break to a thumb break, riffle off half the cards, cut them to the top, riffle off the rest of the cards, cut them to the top, and their selected card is on top of the deck. That's the double undercut. That's the one I use most often because you can actually change that into anything you want. If you wanted to, you could keep a break here instead of above 2/3 of the deck, and you could do the quintuple undercut. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And a lot of magicians say that you have to watch out for this, but I'm really not too concerned about this. I never have been, and it's never been an issue for me because nobody's ever said anything. But a lot of people, or a lot of magicians, give me criticism because when I cut the cards at the top, I don't square them. And they say it looks too messy because they're just sort of all over the place. And you know what, honestly, I've never had a problem. As far as I'm concerned, it's a bonus because it's kind of hiding your break, and it makes things look a little less awkward. If you were actually cutting the deck, like I'm actually doing it now, you do actually square the deck. And like I've said before, you want to make anytime you do a slight, you want to make it look like the natural thing. So anytime you're actually cutting the deck, you generally square it, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to riffle cards. If you, see I'm already losing it, if you try and riffle cards off a deck like that, it's no easy task. However, like I said, I've never had a problem with it. Nobody's ever questioned it, or no laymen have ever questioned it. Only other magicians have commented. So yeah, don't worry about that. If it helps you, like it helps me, to leave the cards a little staggered, no problem. And then just square them when you're done. So those are some false shuffles and cuts just to get you started. If you're interested in learning the pull-through shuffle, I have one of Martin Nash's videos, and he goes through it very well. That's kind of where I started to learn, and then I just didn't really pursue it because I never used it, or never had an opportunity to use it. So yeah, check out Martin Nash if you want to learn more about the pull-through. Otherwise, have fun with the double undercut. It's a very good false cut. If you want to check out some more table cuts, I believe they're called, there's a lot of good ones out there about that too. So, enjoy. Have a good one. Practice, 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 practice. And thanks very much for watching.